Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic. I remembered so you don't have to. The freaking best time of the year is back! Christmas! God, I love it. If I could find a way to kidnap Christmas, tie it up in my basement, visit it every night, and chop off a little bit of its body to consume it so I could slowly become Christmas, I wouldn't because that's gross, but nevertheless, I fucking love it! This year, I'm not only doing top 12 lists and editorials, but I'm reviewing some of the worst holiday specials ever, all building up to what many decree the worst holiday special of all time. But we'll get to that when we get to that. Let's talk about one of the most important part of the holidays, jolly old Saint Nick himself, Santa Claus. You better watch out. There's been so many Santa Clauses over the years, and we all have our interpretation of what we think makes the best one. Which has the most unique take, the most enjoyable performance? Which one do we look at and say that without any doubt, that's Santa Claus? Everyone has their personal picks, and we're gonna look at my top 12 favorite today. Why top 12? Because it's Christmas! This is the top 12 greatest Santa Clauses. Tis the season to be jolly. Number 12. Santa Claus is coming to town. Yeah, so as many of you know, I'm not really a Rankin Bass fan. Which is not to say I don't understand why people enjoy the specials, they're just a little too awkward and creepy for me. But I'll give this one credit that not only does it create a decent and kind-loving Santa Claus, but it mostly shows him as a young man, which is actually pretty rare.
You tell those young'uns there'll be plenty of toys, but only if they behave themselves.
That's Mickey Rooney doing the voice, and he hits just the right amount of gentleness and sincerity.
Why, look here. Changing from bad to good's as easy as taking your first step.
He's full of energy and wants to do all he can for the world. The only thing holding him back is the budget of how much movement the animators are allowed to give him. Whoa, watch that hand there, buddy. That's $30 per finger bending. I know it's cheap, I know it's underwhelming at times, but you give the studio credit for what they got. And what they ended up with may not look glamorous, but it still at least is very heartfelt. I don't know, even as a non-Rankin Bass fan, I can't find myself leaving him off the list. And maybe that's for the best. How's that song go again, you creepy mailman with slits on the side of his mouth?
Santa Claus is coming to town.
Well, no, look at these scars.
Number 11. A Christmas Story. Okay, you know I had to at least have one traditionally bad Santa Claus in there, and this one is by far my favorite. But that's not to say there hasn't been certainly a ton of entertainingly bad Santa Clauses over the years, including Futurama, Home Alone, Bad Santa, and The Santa Claus. And while those guys are all fun, this is the one I always think of when I think of the traditional jerky Santa Claus.
And what do you want for Christmas, Billy? A toy truck, get him off my lap!
It's not that he's the meanest, it's clear all he wants is his paycheck at the end of the day.
Oh, I hate the smell of tapioca.
But at the same time, he puts on just enough of a show so that he can technically keep his job. Look how quickly he switches back and forth.
If Higby thinks I'm working 1 minute past 9, he can kiss my foot.
Admit it, there's a part of us that can really identify with this Santa because he doesn't want to start anything, but at the same time, it's a job. A job he's not very fond of, but he might as well exploit because people think he's good at it. How many of us haven't been in a position like that? But at some point, even he can't stay in character the whole time and shoves a slide-climbing Ralphie off with his foot, in what might be one of the best uses of a wide-angle shot ever.
Ho, ho, ho.
Hey, how many Santa Claus exhibits had a slide, by the way? I never got to go on a slide. I would love to go on a slide. Shut the fuck up, kid. You're on a slide in a mall after seeing Santa. You got it good. Anyway, despite the fact that there's a lot of good Santa screw-ups out there, this one by far is my absolute favorite.
Then what's your name, little boy? Ho, ho, ho.
Number 10. Rise of the Guardians. Nothing like a Santa who kicks ass to be thrown in the mix, huh? While this movie can be clunky at times, there's no doubt that the best part is Alec Baldwin as a Russian Santa Claus.
Hey, there he is, Jack Frost!
I love being shoved in a sack and tossed through a magic portal.
Oh, good. That was my idea.
Who would even think to have Alec Baldwin in that part? But you know what? You can't even tell. He's absolutely perfect for it.
It's been a long time, old friend.
Am I on the naughty list?
On naughty list, you hold the record. But no matter, we overlook. Now we are wiping clean the slate.
I'll admit, I was kinda torn between this Santa and Father Christmas from Narnia, as both are sword-wielding fighters, which is not usually the route you see Santa take. Yeah, hand out those dangerous weapons to kids, you blood-hungry psychopath. But with this Santa, it feels okay. He seems like a crazy eccentric who would only really attack if he needed to. Or at least, if it was a lot of fun. He's just so energized and so upbeat about what he does. Even in a scene where he has to do other people's job like the Tooth Fairy, he just seems to enjoy doing it so much. Listen to how he talks, look at how he jumps up and down. This guy's enjoyment is just contagious.
A race? Is it a race? This is going to be epic!
He's a person who just loves his work. But when evil comes a-calling, it's good to know he can also open up a merry can to fuck your ass up whenever you need it. How can you not love this guy? He's strong, he's a hard worker, he's a fighter, he loves what he does, and he's voiced by the asshole from 30 Rock. That's a pretty awesome Santa in my book.
Give me break.
Number 9. Jack Skellington from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Now, some might call bullshit on this, as Jack is not technically Santa Claus. In fact, this movie even has a Santa Claus. And he kidnaps him so he can take over his job. But truth be told, I kinda think he makes a better Santa Claus than the real Santa Claus does in this version. This Santa Claus is always kinda grumpy and pissed off, which is understandable. He is being kidnapped and held hostage. But at the same time, look at how much fun Jack is having in his place.
They're celebrating! They're thanking us for doing such a good job! Whoa! Careful down there! You almost hit us!
Even when Santa's released, he still seems kind of cranky to return to his job, but Jack, he's just happy to be back to his old job again. In fact, he's happy to have even gotten a chance to be Santa for one night, even if it didn't work.
For a moment, why, I even touched the sky, and at least I left some stories they can tell. I did.
There's just something about his passion for it. He clearly loves what he's doing and appreciates it to no end.
You're welcome, one and all.
And I'm sorry, that Christmas was awesome. I don't care if it's out of place. A crazy-ass Christmas celebrating the dark and insane parts of humanity might be welcomed. You know, apart from the Christmas celebrating the dark and insane parts of humanity we're already aware of. Even though he got the wrong idea, you can't deny his heart was in the right place, and that he put all his might into making something he thought was so special. It's an example of being in the right attitude in the wrong place. But hey, you still can't fault him for having the right attitude. Number 8. The Twilight Zone, The Night of the Meek. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. A Twilight Zone episode? Really? In the top 12 Santa Clauses? Well, this is a very different kind of Santa Claus from a very different kind of source. The Twilight Zone, often known for dealing in the creepy unknown, gives us a really aggressive but very heartwarming take on the origins of a very unique kind of Santa. Our Carney plays a drunk mall Santa who once again is not very good at what he does. But what makes him different from the others is how much you can sympathize with where he's coming from. He feels Christmas has lost its soul and become too greedy, forgetting about showing love to your fellow neighbor.
Someone should remind her that Christmas is more than barging up and down department store aisles and pushing people out of the way.
Again, going back to the dark and insane parts of humanity that we're all sadly very aware of.
Christmas is another thing finer than that. Richer, finer, truer.
But all that changes when he finds a magic bag that can give him whatever he wants. So, rather than use it to make him rich or just get himself booze, he uses it to give presents to everyone he comes across. And it's always the exact present that they want. Suddenly, his will to live and his urge to give all come flooding back as for one night, he becomes the town's best Santa Claus that they've ever had. Just look at how happy he is to actually be making a difference in someone's life. And not just one person, several people.
Drunk? Of course I'm drunk. I'm intoxicated with the spirit of the Yule. Drunk with the spirit of the Yule. Intoxicated with the magic and wonder that is Christmas Eve. I'm inebriated with joy and delight. Yes, officer, I'm drunk.
He's finally making others happy, and it just makes him the most joyous person in the world. For him, it's the greatest feeling he's ever had. And sure enough, the North Pole sees his good deeds and decides, what the hell, he should be the new Santa from now on. Yeah, a little corny and silly, but Carney's performance as well as that brilliant writing from Rod Serling makes this impossible not to feel all warm and fuzzy inside. It's a great example of how literally and figuratively one great night can last for the rest of your life.
There's a wondrous magic to Christmas, and there's a special power reserved for little people. In short, there's nothing mightier than the meek.
Number 7. Paul Giamatti in Fred Claus. A lot of people probably want me to put Ed Asner from Elf in this category as the hardworking Santa who clearly shows the exhaustion of what he's going through. But for me, that goes to Paul Giamatti's Santa. Not that I can back this up as a good movie. I can't. It's pretty stupid. But still, Giamatti gives the performance of a kind of Santa we don't see too often. The overworked Santa. He's not a jerk or cranky or anything like that. He's just having trouble keeping up with his nitwit brother. His stress-inducing job, and constant notes from upstairs saying if he doesn't get back on track, he could ruin Christmas forever.
I'm gonna kill him with kindness.
No. You don't have to do that. Love, kindness, it's coming off of you like radiation or something.
Some might say this is kind of a depressing Santa to watch, but I think it works because you see how much effort he's putting into it, and reminds us not to take advantage of those who are kind enough to do such nice things.
The efficiency expert arrives in 15 minutes.
We're gonna be fine.
Oh, we're gonna be fine. I know it. I know it.
Give me a little something.
Yes, I will.
There we go.
You feel his pain and want to help him even as you're watching it. I would gladly shoot Vince Vaughn for you, sir. Just give me a bullet.
All right, I gotta hustle because I gotta meet somebody right now, okay?
Aye, Captain.
Captain's on deck.
Rest assured, my man.
When it looks like he may have lost Christmas forever, he doesn't just shake his head and look disappointed. He looks downright destroyed. Like all the good things he's valued in life has all amounted to nothing. It just tears him apart.
It's ridiculous for anybody to expect that kind of thing. No, you can't. It's too huge. Believe me, I know.
Which of course makes us all the more happy when things go right again. Yes, he loses his cool at times, but he clearly shows anyone would in this situation. It's a much more human and relatable Santa. And in the end, nobody can blame him for what he does and how hard he works doing it. It's a great portrayal by a great actor. Number 6. Santa the 20th from Arthur Christmas. This is one of those movies I hope is catching on and once again delivers a unique kind of Santa. Played by that British guy whom you always see in everything but never bother to remember his name. Oh fuck it, it's Jim Broadbent. I'm ending that joke. This is a very forgetful Santa. And I don't mean that as in the character is forgetful, I mean that as in the character is forgetful. He has a bad memory.
This one's for me, dear.
Oh. Happy Christmas, Margaret.
Oh, thank you.
He has trouble keeping up with technology, and so the elves end up doing most of the work for him. Some might say that this makes him lazy, but really it just makes him old and inadaptable. But it's obvious he's still trying, it's just hard for him to follow all the new technology and all the new gadgets and such. As happens with a lot of people who get older.
Got the PIN code.
Just crossed into Germany, sir.
Germany? So many countries these days.
There's still this sense that this Santa doesn't want to stop helping or giving toys. He just doesn't know the best way to do it anymore. As the writing starts to hit the wall, he can see more and more that he may need to give it up to somebody else. But he's in such denial because he loves giving so much that he doesn't want to leave it.
I'm not just a fatty with a suit, am I?
Of course not, dear.
Yes, he does have a selfish moment here or there, but you realize that's because he's been in a bubble for so long, because he's always been on top. And eventually at the end, he does realize the right direction everything should go in, even if it is hard for him to accept. It's hard to explain, there's just kind of this quiet, gentle kindness that you can't help but really enjoy with him. You want to see the job done right, but at the same time you don't want to see it taken away from someone so nice and so likable. You get the feeling this is the guy who's been doing it the longest, and you don't want to see him stop, even though you know at some point he has to. Even though he's slow, even though he's forgetful, you can't help but feel for him the same way he obviously feels for everyone else.
I'm Santa. Children, rely on me.
Number 5. The Wonder Years, A Very Cut-Lip Christmas. As you can see, I couldn't get any video footage for this one, but that's not going to stop me from still talking about one of the greatest Santa Clauses ever. It's the gym teacher, Mr. Cutlip. Yeah, remember him? The tight-ass jerk-off that all the kids hated? Well, in this episode, it turns out he actually sneaks out in secret to play a mall Santa. And of course Kevin, played by Fred Savage, is the only one to find out. The result is Cutlip being extra nice to Kevin in exchange for not sharing his secret, which gets all the other kids really angry at him. But when Kevin accidentally tells some of the boys about the secret, they claim they're gonna go to the mall and make fun of him, humiliating him in front of the school and in front of the whole mall. But the best part is, as soon as they get there, they don't see the coach under the Santa beard, they just see, well, Santa himself. I mean, they know it's him clearly, but they don't care. They just saw a cool guy sharing and giving to a bunch of kids, and for no other reason except that he really likes to do it. And the transformation of die-hard cynic to charming holiday icon is so strong that even the high school boys can't bring themselves to break it apart. It's a really great moment in watching someone again literally and figuratively become Santa Claus, and the strength of good intentions winning over the hearts of those who were originally looking to share misery. It's well-paced, well-directed, and of course, well-performed. The coach's ability to go from such an unlikable jerk into someone who really does care for kids and just wants to see them enjoy the holidays is really something to see. And you're definitely not going to see it in these stills, so see if you can manage to find the episode and check it out. It's definitely worth the search. Number 4. Richard Attenborough from Miracle on 34th Street. Insert Mara Wilson revenge joke here. A lot of people have mixed feelings about this remake, and I'd be lying if I said I kinda did too. It has both good elements and bad elements that you can nitpick on, especially in comparing it to the original. But the one element that is particularly flawless is Attenborough as Santa. Again, we just see what an upbeat, kind sweetheart of a man the real Santa Claus could be.
I'd like the court to see Mr. Kringle make the reindeer fly.
He only flies on Christmas Eve.
I love the detail of his costume, I love the smile he constantly has, and I love how he's always giggling unless he has something to be concerned for, like the well-being of others. We still get all the things we associate with Santa. His joy, his kindness to kids, his love for his work, and his ability to win over others with the sheer passion of what he does.
She's deaf. You don't have to talk to her. She just wanted to see you.
You are a very beautiful young lady.
Admit it, you're smiling just looking at this guy right now, aren't you? When he's happy and upbeat, it never feels like a performance. He seems really genuinely happy and upbeat. And when he's concerned, he looks and feels really concerned. Again, it never seems like he's reading a script and he's acting it out. He looks totally in there. It's a good performance that definitely deserves to be recognized. For me, this is one hell of a great Santa.
He thinks you're Santa Claus.
I am.
Number 3. Edmund Gwynn from Miracle on 34th Street. Yeah, don't act like you didn't see this one coming. Nothing beats the original, and this one is proof of that. There's nothing wrong with Attenborough's giggling and bubbliness, but Gwen's version is much more reserved and dignified. Which again, you don't see in a Santa that often when you think about it, but it's definitely welcomed, as we figure a man who does what he does for so long would carry a lot of proud weight on his shoulders.
Don't you realize there are thousands of children lining the streets, waiting to see you? Children who've been dreaming of this moment for weeks. You're a disgrace to the tradition of Christmas, and I refuse to have you malign me in this fashion.
But it's leveled out perfect with how much he just gets along with others, especially children. There's a sense that he doesn't talk down to them. He speaks to them as if he takes every single word they're saying seriously.
He said, "What kind of an animal are you?" And I said, "I'm not an animal, I'm a girl."
Why didn't you tell him you were a lion or a bear?
Because I'm not a bear or a lion.
Yes, but the other children were only children, and they were pretending to be animals.
That's what makes the game so silly.
Oh, I don't think so.
You can tell that he listens to everything being said by them and never disregards any of it.
Well, the only important thing is to make the children happy.
And whether Macy or somebody else sells the toy doesn't make any difference. Don't you feel that way?
Really, I didn't know Macy's did.
Well, as long as I'm here, they do.
With that said, though, it's nice having two Santas as different as these two versions, and truly comparing them is like apples and oranges. But let's face it, that's what we're here to do, and since we gotta, Gwen I do think is a little bit better. He's got the stature, he's got the pride, and he's got it for all the right reasons. To help and delight all little children who come before him. He's one of America's classic Santas for a reason.
Oh, go ahead, pull it.
Number 2. Santa Claus the movie. Now, of course I've made fun of this movie before in my review of it, and I still stand by it's a pretty goofy flick. But I still can't bring myself to say that David Huddleston as Santa brings anything less than pure Christmas joy. He has so many of the elements needed for a good Santa. The hard worker, the jolly laugh, the weight of his importance, as well as, well, the weight. His love for children, he's just got so much going for him.
Did you see their faces when they saw the toys?
Oh, yes.
They loved their Uncle Claus, huh?
I also give credit that the movie does take the whole Santa Claus mythos very seriously. There's a lot of quiet moments and even dramatic moments that really make you feel like you're watching something big and important go down.
From this day on, now and forever, we will bring our gifts to all the children in all the world.
And his performance is right in the center of it. I think Polar Express tried to do something similar with its build-up, but the Santa we saw wasn't on screen that long, and I don't know, I never felt like I really got a chance to know him. This Santa, we most certainly did. We know he's funny, we know he's kind, we know he'll risk anything just to make the world a little bit of a better place. It's funny because his voice is not the traditional voice you would think of when you think of Santa. It's more high-pitched and less ho-ho-ho-y, but he's just so cheerful and happy whenever he speaks with it that it's almost contagious. You just want to laugh every time he laughs.
We did it! We did it! Well done!
It's also great that even before becoming Santa, he makes and gives toys to begin with. In fact, he nearly dies in a storm just to give kids who have no toys something to play with that year. It's a performance he made all his own, and we're thankful that he did, because it's truly one of a kind. And the #1 greatest Santa Claus of all time is... Ernest Saves Christmas. I don't care! I don't care! I don't care if this movie is stupid! I don't care if it's completely goofy and idiotic! This has the best Santa Claus ever! Played by the late Douglas Seal, this guy captures the constant thrill, the constant kindness, the constant joy, the constant love, the constant... just Christmas. You just look at this guy and you hear his voice and you just think Christmas. Listen to him.
You don't get rich by doing a once-a-week children's program on local television. You've got to do it for other reasons. And that's why I'm here.
He makes friends with complete strangers. He has an immediate connection to children without even talking to them. He's just oozing with Christmas goodness and he's so lovable. This actor brings to life a man who's been doing what he's been doing so long that he's actually endangered it ever being done again by anyone else. All because he loved it so much. He loved giving. He loved being Santa. He loved being the voice of kindness. But at the same time, you can hear the urgency in his voice that it might all go away forever. He feels guilty for loving his job so much that it might have put everything in danger. It's a situation where literally the guy was too nice. And I don't know, isn't that sort of what Santa Claus should be? It just breaks your fucking heart when you see him trying to put things right, but then it all falls apart. Even the guy he wants to take over the position, who clearly doesn't believe in Santa Claus, has a hard time not believing in Santa Claus after talking with him. And you would too! Just listen to his genuine sincerity.
You know, I've carried this torch for more seasons than I should have done. Because I loved it so much. But now, I've taken to making notes. Well, you can't do it that way. It shouldn't be done that way. It can't be done that way.
Did you even notice that he actually said it can't be done that way twice in the same sentence? That's not good writing. And yet, he pulls it off so flawlessly that most people don't notice. They're just too engaged in his performance. He's also good at showing older kids that obviously don't believe that he's aware of the troubles at home and that he still cares about what happens to them. That they'll always have somebody who listens and will be on their side.
My mistake. I mixed you up with someone whose parents had some problems last year, and, well, they got so wrapped up in themselves that they forgot that she needed a little attention, too.
That voice is the kindest you could find. That face is the kindest you could find. Even in a jail cell full of killers. Within minutes, he has them all singing Christmas carols.
4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves. And a partridge in a pear tree.
They even stand up for him when somebody doesn't believe he's the real thing.
My good man, you are not Santa Claus.
I tell you I am.
Oh, no.
I am too.
Oh, no.
Excuse me, but he really is Santa Claus.
Yeah, that's right.
That is fucking hardcore. And who can blame them? He may not be chubby, he may not have the deep voice, but you take one look at this guy and you just say, Santa. Yes, it comes from a dumb movie. Yes, there's tons of things about it that don't make sense. But it also has the best Santa Claus I have ever seen, and I'll believe in him all over again every single time I see him. I'm the Nostalgia Critic guy, remember? Because it's Christmas!